we're going to be hearing from a trader who's at a really interesting part of his trading journey. So Neal Bateman was coached by Trading Angel, and that's how we know each other, but he's since gone on to pass multiple six-figure prop firm trading accounts, and over the past year has lived almost entirely off his trading profits. So a lot of you may actually know Neal because you might have been coached from him, and also because I've talked to him before on this channel. But I thought 1 year into him being a full-time trader was a really good opportunity to catch up and give you a really honest account of what that last year looked like. So the questions that I'm going to be asking Neal are: what is the secret to success as a trader? What were the things that he was doing differently right before he passed his first prop firm challenge? What he would tell other traders who are at that point at the moment? What the highs and the lows have been over the past year of his first year being a full-time trader? If he could start from zero, would he do it, and what would he do differently? And what is the strategy that he's been trading which has enabled him to get this far? If you're excited to hear from Neal and hear more about his journey, then make sure you hit the thumbs up button now before we get started. It's good for the YouTube algorithm, and it means that it will help reach more people. If you are new to this channel, then welcome. My name is Caroline. I am a trader and a trading coach at Trading Angel. If you'd like to stay up to date with my journey, the other traders, and also my style of trading, then make sure you hit subscribe now and the bell button. So welcome, Neal. Thanks for taking the time to talk to everyone today and tell them about your journey. How does it feel to be 1 year in to life as a full-time trader?
Feels great. I still suffer a little bit from imposter syndrome. Feels a little bit surreal at times and can't really believe that I'm here after this journey that it's been. But very happy and excited to continue learning and continue growing.
Let's start by giving a little bit of context to people. So I know you have spoken on here before, and so there'll be people who are familiar with you, and there'll be people who've been coached by you one-to-one. But for anyone who's new and is meeting you for the first time, what is a little bit of the background? So what was going on a year ago that got you to the point of being a full-time trader where you are now?
I started my trading journey during lockdown. As I think a lot of people were, especially in the UK, I was placed on furlough, so had the extra time and started trading and learning how to trade. 4 years into that journey, I was considering taking the plunge, and it just so happened that I was made redundant at work and ended up taking that plunge a little bit sooner than was planned. But as with many things, the beauty of hindsight is great, and I've now been trading full-time just over a year and 4 months, and it's been great. I've loved it. It's been challenging, but ultimately it's definitely the right decision and something I'm very happy to do.
So I was coaching you for a little bit before you went full-time, and I remember that you actually were profitable technically for quite a while, weren't you? You were in profit, you were being consistent. It was just that because you were trading with a prop firm, you weren't able to hit those certain milestones and therefore actually receive a payout.
There was a long time where I was either slightly profitable or just always sort of finishing up near break even. Biggest hurdle was getting into being consistently profitable. I always traded with prop firms from the beginning, and I still do that now. It was just navigating their rules around their payouts and their trading rules, and also just learning that there are some bad actors out there. You know, so a lot of these prop firms, they market and advertise themselves as wanting to have and support successful traders, but meanwhile they just want to generate revenue through their evaluation fees. That was a big learning curve, and that was something that I had to really come to grips with around July, August last year. I was due quite a big payout from a prop firm. They took 7 weeks to pay out. Whilst you're waiting for that payout, you can't trade in your account, so I had to start new evaluation. So there was a long period where I wasn't receiving any income, and that was just very stressful.
I mean, the reason why I wanted to do this video as well is because I think going from break even to profitable to payout to, you know, that kind of section of the trading journey is a whole journey in itself, and perhaps is a tiny bit longer than most people would want to believe when they first start. I think it's easy to want to believe that you find a magical indicator and a magical strategy and that's it, you're off, you're a millionaire. But actually there is a journey in that first stage, and it's interesting to hear you had a strategy that was working, you were passing your prop firm challenge, but there was still struggles along the way. I know a lot of people are very desperate to quit their jobs and become a full-time trader. What would you say to someone who told you that that was their goal, to quit their job and become a full-time trader like you?
I would say it's very achievable. You just have to be sort of very realistic about what trading is and what it can give you. There's a lot of influencers out there who will try and market it as a get rich quick scheme. And there's definitely a lot of money to be made in trading, but you just need to realize that it's a marathon, not a sprint. You just need to be consistently profitable, manage your risk, look after your capital, and the money will follow.
I often describe it to people who tell me that that's their dream, is to become a full-time trader, and they want to do it next year. I often liken it to a 5-year university degree. So I say trading is like a 5-year university degree. So you can do it, you can learn it, and it's very profitable, but there is also a reason why most people don't or make it that far. I'd say the first year, I mean, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I would say if it's a 5-year university degree, the first year is just technical analysis, really. It's just really getting familiar with the chart. But as you know, technical analysis isn't enough. There's also risk management and fundamental analysis, and how that, the relationship between that and technicals, and risk to reward ratio, and then practicing your strategy and backtesting and all the different things. Like for me, I always think, I know no one's going to want to hear this. This is the thing that no one's going to want to hear. But I think 5 years is around the magical point when people do tend to come through. What do you think about that? Because it was about 5 years for you as well, wasn't it?
I've been trading 5.5 years now, so 1 year full-time trader. The biggest thing I've learned in the last year actually has been around trading psychology and mindset. It was more important once it was basically my only source of income. So just having a grasp of that, just being confident in my trading plan, following my rules and being disciplined, and just realizing that, yeah, you have to remain positive even in those periods of drawdown, which are inevitable, and try and just remove emotion from all of your trades, which is much easier said than done. You just have to try and be robotic, which is very counterintuitive. And also realizing we're sort of grown up and taught that the harder you work, the more you work, the more successful you'll be. Whereas with trading, it's true in terms of backtesting, having trading planning, everything. But when it comes to actually placing trades, less is definitely more.
Okay, let's talk about this, because actually this was something that I was thinking about anyway as well. And it's something which a lot of traders struggle with. So a lot of the traders who come to me for coaching are actually very, very, very good traders already. They're almost experts in technical analysis, and they are confused as to why they're not actually able to go any further with it. And yeah, I think that is a really, really, really key thing. It's knowing so much, but then also doing so little on the day. Like almost the less you do, the better you do. So I know there's the whole set and forget, and that does work. I mean, how many trades do you place a day? What do you think is the magical amount, or what's the sort of typical amount of trades that you place in a day?
So the most I would place in a day would be 3. I trade gold and oil during the London session.
Mm.
And if there's a setup on gold and oil in the London session, I will place a trade on that. If I place a trade on both those assets, though, I will halve my risk. So basically, I will allow myself 1% risk in the morning, 1% in the New York session. And if I trade both gold and oil in the morning, I'll do 0.5% on each. It's very rare that I actually do take 3 trades. It typically works out to 1 in each session or just 1. And sometimes there's no trades. There are no trade days. You just sort of have to sit in your hands if there's NFP or anything like that. I know you love to trade news,
Yeah.
but I don't trade the news.
Those are my favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how difficult it is. I was an overtrader at the beginning. So I used to just I'd place like 20 trades in a day. And sometimes you win big and sometimes you lose everything. And
Yeah.
that's not good trading. And it takes a long time, and it takes a lot of work to understand why you're doing that and how to stop. And one thing that I realized, which actually did help me, and I wonder what you think about this, is that you said similarly, the prop firms often are there to take your money, they're run as businesses. I also think the trading platforms are designed to make you want to trade. So the brokers and the platforms and the flashing numbers in real time and the red and the green, they're making you want to react and to do something. They give this sense of urgency. And I realize that if I'm on my phone and I'm looking at the trade and I'm looking at the numbers going up and down, as soon as my phone is on and open, I want to do something. I want to take action. I want to try and control it. But if I've got the screen up, if I've got TradingView open on my desktop and I'm watching my trades play out on the screen and my phone is off, I don't feel the need to overtrade.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Even today, all these years later, if I open my phone, I still want to take action. But if it's on my desktop, I just feel completely calm. I can do it objectively. So if you are an overtrader or you struggle with that, that's the first thing I would say is set it up. Obviously, place the trade, but then put your phone away. Obviously, your stop loss and your take profit is set. That's the one thing. I think as well, it's difficult if you don't have a set take profit because then you feel like you have to monitor it.
So on my trades, when I get to my break-even point, I will then close the charts and then just let it either hit TP or run back to break-even and not just sitting there watching it. It is exciting and sometimes I do still watch it, but I'm trying to be more disciplined with just switching off the charts and working away. You know, I've done the work and I need to just let the markets play out.
Yeah, I think that that is a big thing to success. I remember it was a phase that I went through that really stuck in my mind as something that I had to work on. And this was particularly difficult as well, actually, on my journey because I did all my strategies, I actually created myself, which is insane. The fact that I did that, I went through this, the longest possible, most difficult route possible is insane. But the two strategies that I trade today and the three strategies that I used to trade, they were all ones that I created myself. So part of the process of becoming profitable, I believe, is trusting the process. So if you think about trusting the process as a verb, like the action, trust the process, set, forget, but then you have to actually, the concept, trust the process. And you can't do that if you don't have any background on it, if you don't actually trust the process. This brings us nicely around to a question that I had on backtesting, because backtesting is quite key to that, trusting the process. So you do the backtesting, you've got the figures, you know exactly the nuances of your strategy, when it works, when it doesn't. And I remember you saying that was something which helped you trust the process, is you'd done the back testing and you knew how often it worked and how often it didn't. But I'm interested to hear, that's what you said a year ago. I'm interested to hear a year later, do you still think that's the reason you were able to transition into a full-time trader? Or do you think that there's anything else? I mean, obviously that will have still played a part, but is there anything else that you've reflected on over the past year that's made you think, okay, actually that really contributed as well?
Yes, definitely. So backtesting is a huge part of what I do and have done. It's just a great way to collect data. There's some great backtesting websites and software available now, and they give you just such great analysis. And when I first started, I would do it on TradingView and then log all the results on an Excel spreadsheet and then try and analyze all that. And it just took a very, very long time. Now I can enter exit trades, take a screenshot, write down notes, and then there's just a lot of analytics. It'll tell me my most profitable days, weeks, months, time of day. You can look at what your average drawdown is. So if you need to maybe adjust where you set your stop loss, you can use that information. Also, backtesting has really helped me not overtrade. So if I'm sitting in front of the charts waiting for a setup and I really want to trade, it helps me just scratch that itch. One of the things I've done recently is, so I set myself a goal of getting 20% over 3 months. And then you break that down, that works out to just shy of 7% a month and 2% a week. So on my funded accounts, that's a nice big payout. But when you break it down into percentage terms, it's actually very achievable. So I then wrote out a trading plan around that. I've set up my risk parameters, the strategies, sort of the rules, as I mentioned earlier, sort of maximum of 2 trades in London and 1 trade during the New York session. And then every morning I'll read that, reinforce it, and then just make sure I stick to that. So having a good trading plan, setting out your trading goals, and being disciplined, I think, are the things I've learned in the last year that have really helped.
I remember you saying to me shortly before you did actually get your first prop firm payout, I am determined to make this work. I am going to do this. You'd had a few setbacks and you said, it doesn't matter because I am going to do this. And I knew you were when you said that, because I know a lot of people believe that they're going to do it perhaps when they first start, and then they see how much work it is and they're like, actually no, this isn't for me. But I think that you can often tell when someone is going to, I mean, I've coached quite a lot of traders now, I've coached over 100 now. I can kind of tell the little patterns that creep up when people just before they do kind of make it. And one of them is just this change in mindset where they're like, I am going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. And I think when you have that change in mindset as well, these other shifts take over. So backtesting, interestingly, is one thing which people really, really tend to go deep into when they're determined to make it. Because I don't know about you, but if I'm being completely honest with you, in the first year or two, if someone had told me, in fact, they did tell me, I was told to backtest in the first year or two, and I just thought, no, that's too much. Like you're asking far too much of me. I'm just trying to learn about these charts and these candlesticks and these indicators, and asking me to go back through years and years and years and years and do this thing. No, of course I'm not going to do that. And then obviously when you have that shift, when you've sort of learned all the other stuff, you've got that overview of technical fundamental analysis, suddenly things like backtesting actually becomes fun rather than a chore, because it's your priority to do this. Therefore, the thing that's going to get you there is, something you want to do rather than something you have to do. Journaling is another one. Do you journal? Because that's something that I notice a lot of people do just before they make it.
Yeah, I journal all my trades. I'm not very good at sort of writing notes on, I guess, the trade setup and how I felt about it, but I will log every single trade, the date, the time, what the profit or loss was, the drawdown. On TradingView, you could just click a link and it'll create a link of basically that links to a screenshot. And I just copy that onto the Excel spreadsheet. So then when I go back and review it, I can have a look and actually see what the trade setup was. And I also have another little sheet that I mark my account balance and track sort of my daily profit or loss, which is just very good. You shouldn't really focus too much on the money. You want to focus on being just trading well, but it just helps me sort of manage my risk. If I'm in a sort of larger drawdown, I will then adjust my size so that I don't hit the maximum drawdown on my accounts. And it just helps me sort of risk manage knowing that.
I like writing notes each day. It makes a big difference because I don't know why, but for some reason my memory, like I don't remember how I felt a month ago unless I write it down and read it. And I know some people are based in the past in that they kind of reflect on how they felt at a certain time quite easily. I'm not really one of those people, so I think more about the future than I do about the past. So writing the journal, writing the notes helps me to remember that. Otherwise, it's all just forgotten as soon as it's happened. So I'll write down the news releases that came out that day and what I thought I ought to do, what I did, and then what I would do different next time, or if it was the right or the wrong thing. And I also try and do at the end of each day, this really helped me with limiting the amount of trades I placed as well, because I've said that part of my trading day, I have to, at the end of the day, review every single trade I placed. I don't know if you've done, of course you've done it, yeah, like a whole day of trading. It's exhausting. So,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound it, does it? 4 hours doesn't sound like a big day's work, but it is exhausting. And if at the end of the day, you've placed 20 trades and then you have to review 20 trades, and obviously if you place 20 trades, you've traded badly, let's be honest, probably.
And also your fees over 20 trades. If you add up what your fees cost you over 20 trades, it's actually adds up very quickly. And then you think, oh gosh, I need to have this percentage return on a trade just to cover all the fees.
There's been days on news days where I've, placed a lot of trades and it's worked out well, but forget about that. Like on a typical day, if you've placed a lot of trades, usually there's something quite frantic, not calm and composed, doesn't feel like you've followed your rules. And then to have to go and review all of those hysterical trades and write down what you were thinking at that point is, a harrowing process. So making it a rule to review your trades and to journal on them at the end of the day, leaving a little bit of energy to do that, does actually help me to trade better.
I mean, that's essentially why we want to journal everything. Yeah, you sound very good at taking notes. I could probably improve on that, but I think the key is going back and reviewing and analyzing everything, because then
Yeah.
that's why you're collecting that data and you can sort of just better understand what went right, what went wrong. Sometimes nothing went right or wrong. It was just the way the market played out. And yeah, and then that leads back into your trading psychology and building confidence.
Yeah, I mean, I do that at the end of every day. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? What would I do different next time? And yeah, as you say, sometimes it can help because I mean, some days you can look at the market and it's just chopping up and down. You think, okay, I did nothing wrong except try and get a trade.
Yeah.
I've also got another question about that process because we're talking about, I guess, like reflecting on things. And one thing that I do always ask the traders that I coach when they pass their prop firm challenge is how they feel, because often it's actually very different to how they think they're going to feel. So one thing that they often tell me is that what they think they're going to feel, let's just say this first, what people think they're going to feel when they pass the prop firm challenge is light, free, happy, like hopeful, the future's bright, I'm going to be a millionaire now. What they actually feel usually is they usually just put their head in their hands and say, I'm exhausted. And it's usually along the lines of, I knew I was going to pass because I did so much work. There was no way that I wasn't going to pass. So they're not surprised by it. I think as well, you think you're going to be surprised by it and like relieved and like, oh, wow, I passed. But actually, they're like, there was no way that I wasn't going to pass because I'd worked so hard to get to that point. What did you feel? Does that resonate with you? What were your sort of feelings when you did first pass? And was it similar to what you expected or was it different?
It was definitely different to what I expected. As you said, it is exhausting. So you come to the end of it, and I actually felt just a bit flat. You sort of put in all this work and time and effort, and then you finally get there, and yeah, you're not as exuberant as you think you would. It's very exciting once the money hits your account, but yeah, you do feel a little bit flat, and it's a weird feeling. It's very, very different. And I always refer back to a quote: "Trading is the hardest way to make easy money."
Yeah.
And it's so, so true. You
Yeah.
really have to be focused, especially at the beginning, and to be consistently profitable. So yeah, you just have to be robotic in your trading and trying to move emotions, which is very difficult.
Yeah. By the time you make money from trading, you've earned it.
Yeah.
You've really earned it. Yeah. It's difficult to know for sure, but I feel like perhaps there are some accounts on social media, I won't name them obviously, but perhaps give an impression that it's easy and that it happens differently or it feels differently, or it's like, I learned how to trade yesterday and now I'm a millionaire and this is my mansion. And all you need to do is take 10 minutes a day and do this. And I think those people just have really rich parents that bought them that house. That can't be true. That just can't be.
Yeah. I think a
For
lot
me,
of
it
them
doesn't
rent.
seem.
They'll rent the Lamborghinis, they'll rent the villas, and then do their social media posts from outside and then get the keys back.
Yeah, because the other thing is, I don't know if this is what you think as well, but I also think that by the time you've worked that hard to achieve something, I actually, I'm a lot more frugal now than I was 10 years ago when I had nothing. I don't want to just throw money up the wall. Like I feel a lot precious. I feel precious about it because I know like how much work it's taken, how much sacrifice it's taken to learn a skill, and how many, we're filming on a weekend, which is something as well. Like a lot of work for trading is done on the weekend because when the markets are open, you have to be doing that. I don't feel like I want to buy a Lamborghini and or
Yeah.
like I feel a little bit more precious about money because the work that I've done has been exhausting.
Yeah. I had something similar in my first year with taking leave or holiday. I had these sort of images in my mind of, oh, great, I'll make some money and then I'll go work from a beach cafe in Zanzibar or something like that. And in reality, I took no days off last year other than the days sort of when the markets were closed. I went on fewer holidays than I normally do. And it's just because I enjoy trading, but also it's like with anything, when you first start, you really have to put the time and effort in. So I had my first real break over the Christmas holidays when it's just, you can't really trade. And it was just such a nice time just to sort of clear the mind again and completely relax. So yeah, that's something I need to think about in the future. And another trader I was chatting to, they similar to me in the beginning, but then they made sure that during the day they would get out and do something, and if it was going to the gym or go for a run, or just make sure you get away from your screen and take that time to yourself, because that's why we're doing it really. We want to be masters of our own time and have financial freedom. So we need to make the most of it when we can.
I don't know if you've experienced this, but something that I feel like I think I've had it forever, to be honest. I call it freelancer fear. So before I was a trader, I was a journalist. I still am a journalist. I still work as a freelance journalist, but I call it freelancer fear because it's you don't have a set amount of money that you're making for a set amount of hours. So you don't know what your annual salary is until you've made it. And I think obviously with a trader, I mean, some of it is in your control, but some of it's out of your control. So obviously, you know, the days you show up, how you react, your psychology, any training you do, those things are in your control. But things that are out of your control is how the market's going to move. Is the market going to be ranging sideways for 6 weeks? Because, you know, I don't know about you, but my strategy doesn't work the same in a ranging market. So I have to make adjustments. And, you know, if there's not as much volume moving the markets or it's moving too choppy and I can't get a good risk to reward, that's out of my control. Although the highs can be very high, you also have this fear of, oh my goodness, what if it just doesn't move for the next 6 weeks? Have you experienced that freelancer fear?
Yeah, so I think that's a very good way of sort of putting what I was trying to, a better way of putting what I was trying to describe is definitely freelancer fear. Yeah, you don't know where that next paycheck's going to come, and there's not always a trading opportunity every single day. So you want to be there ready for it.
Yeah, and it's probably not what people expect because, as you said, people come to trading because they want to be in charge of their own time, they want to have that freedom, but actually, this thing sets in that they didn't expect to feel, which is actually, I don't know how much I'm going to make next month. I don't know if I'm going to make anything next month. If someone was new to being a profitable trader, new to being a full-time trader, so in the same situation that you were about a year ago, what would you tell them? Obviously, not financial advice, but like, what would you say in terms of managing that? You know, what sort of guidance would you give someone in terms of managing that uncertainty that comes from not knowing how much you're going to make each month?
I think just knowing that that's a possibility. There are going to be some months when you're slightly in the red. So when you do get a payout, don't just go and blow it. Save it. Make sure you have enough to pay for everything you need to. And once you've got a nice nest egg, then you can sort of treat yourself. Um, that's still something I'm learning and sort of having to work on myself.
Let's look at your strategy now, because I know you've told me recently, I don't know anything about your new strategy. I know last year you were trading a ICT strategy on Forex. What's changed?
So interestingly, the change was sort of started by a student who was looking to fit the trading into their lifestyle. And that was sort of around New York Open. They wanted to do a fairly quick moving strategy and something that you didn't have to be sat in front of the charts for a long time. So yeah, built out the break and retest strategy, which works really well on the indices, particularly NASDAQ and DAX. It also works on pound yen and oil really well. I've switched to that strategy because it works really well. It moves very quickly. It doesn't involve too much technical analysis. It's very much based off of price action. Interestingly, that then led me to switch what I'm actually trading with. So when you're with a typical broker or prop firm, the type of contract you will trade is called a CFD, or contract for difference. I've now switched to trading futures. I'm loving it so far. Futures are regulated, whereas CFDs aren't. So that's why if you look on 8-cap chart compared to a Pepperstone, you might see the price is slightly different, whereas futures pricing is regulated by the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. So you get what's called true pricing, and also the spreads are very thin. Learning how to execute futures trades and being familiar with the expiration dates and knowing when they're expiring and when to sort of switch, because you'll have, for example, in oil, they have contracts every single month that change. So you want to change sort of 2 months ahead. Other assets, sort of NASDAQ, will change every quarter. So you need to be able to switch contract and know when to switch them. So there's a bit of a learning curve there, but ultimately it's been great and it works really well with my strategy.
Interesting. Actually, it sounds similar to one of mine, just off what you've said, although we've not actually seen it play out. I found with the one, so I've got 2 strategies that I'm trading at the moment, which incidentally has made such a huge difference. just having the 2. I think before I traded 3 across Forex. So I was trading multiple Forex pairs, and just having 2 strategies on 2 markets has made such a big difference, because being able to focus and not keep on top of so many things. Strategy 1 and strategy 2, but they have more fun names, but that's just if I'm keeping things simple and straightforward. Strategy 1 sounds very similar to what you described. But one thing I have actually noticed with it in my own trading is I've got to be really restrictive on when I trade it, because some days it works really, really well. So you described it as a break and a retest off the New York Open that moves very quickly, which sounds very similar to the one that I trade. But I have noticed, and I was wondering if you'd noticed this as well, that, yeah, I have to be very, very restrictive on the days that I trade it, because some days on the open, it just, you don't actually get that move. It just goes, what I call a chaotic open. So it just goes crazy and there's no way of getting a trade. And then some days it's brilliant and it goes almost straight into profit. I'm presuming you've noticed that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've spoken about your strategy before, and you do a lot more sort of fundamental analysis and sort of work on your daily bias for the movement of the indices. And as I understand it, you enter much sooner than I do. I will sort of wait for a break of a level and then a retest of that level.
I've actually tweaked it, so I do that now. So
okay, great. So
yeah.
maybe we're trading the same now.
I think we might be more or less, yeah. I have a feeling there might be a slight difference, only because the zone that I draw on for the break and retest was actually, again, everything for me was a lot of trial and error. And this was actually discovered by accident, because in the back testing, I meant to put on a certain zone, but I put the time wrong, or I forgot to change the time on the back testing. And then I got incredible results, like really, really, really good results. And then I realized that I hadn't changed the time to the right time. So I thought, oh, that was a complete accident. So I did it as the right time. So I changed it back to GMT and the results were terrible. So I realized that actually that was a really lucky accident. So I'm assuming it might be, I mean, we might still have the same, we might still have the same area. You might have just found it out a different way. But yeah, I wait for them to come out in break and retest effectively, because it gets better results. But yeah, I do a lot of the directional bias that I do, or the directional bias checklist that I do. I have one here, I think. There you go. Those I fill out each before the session opens, and yeah, there is a lot of fundamentals on there, which I find really helpful to decide if I actually want to be trading that strategy at all. So, what is the key to success as a trader?
Oh, $1 million question. I think it has to, for me, the last year has to be sort of trading psychology. Technical analysis takes some learning, but everyone can learn it. It also goes the same for learning the strategy. You know, once you've learned a strategy and you start to back test it, everyone can sort of learn a strategy. But trading psychology, being emotionless, like emotionless seems just very cold-hearted, but you just have to kind of be very robotic in your trading. And yeah, we touched on this earlier, just having realistic expectations. knowing that sort of trading is a marathon, it's not a sprint. You're not going to become a millionaire overnight. And then, as we've sort of discussed, journaling, back testing, and having a really good, well-defined trading plan that you stick to.
I do agree with you actually what you were saying about technical analysis anyone can learn, but what's interesting is I remember when I first started, I didn't know that. So I thought technical analysis was it. That was all I had to learn and that was going to be the most difficult thing. And I think a lot of traders, maybe, I'm speaking for them here, but I know when a lot of traders come to me looking for coaching, they aren't experts in technical analysis. I've said it loads before. So, and then they're confused as to why they can't make profits. And then what was the other thing you said? You said something else anyone can learn. Oh, strategy. That was it. Anyone can learn a
Yeah.
strategy, back test it. Yeah. And you know what? Most strategies are about 50%, aren't they? Despite what everyone's telling you when they say they make 98%. Like
Yeah.
most are about 50%. It's just the risk to reward and the psychology. I wonder, do you not think that there is a set of rules that you could say that if someone followed them, their psychology would be perfect trade? I think don't look at your phone. For me, that's made such a big difference because this thing is designed sneakily to make
Yeah.
you want to overtrade. It's designed to make you want to. It's designed to make you want to gamble. The flashing numbers, the real time, the psychology of that design was to make us feel like we're in control, but actually, it's like a casino. You know,
Yeah.
it's designed to make you want to gamble. Cheap drinks, you know, very clever. I think not looking at your phone, it makes all the difference to me. Not looking at my phone and just looking at the screen. I don't feel any urge to overtrade whatsoever when I'm looking at a trade play out on the screen. But as soon as my phone's open, I want to start getting involved. What would you say if you had to change someone's psychology? What rules would you give them?
Setting a trading plan and back testing. I
Yeah.
think those two steps are key because the psychology part all comes down to confidence. You need to be confident in your trades, knowing that what you're doing is going to work in the long term. I mean, it might not work, as I've had the beginning of January, 2 weeks where my oil trades haven't worked out. But because I've back tested it and reviewed it and have a plan, I know that in the long run, it's going to turn around. When you do see your stop loss get hit, there's always this little sort of pang in your heart, but you just have to know that that is par for the course, and that's what happens. So, yeah, if you need to focus on your psychology and you're new to trading, have a good detailed plan. I read mine every morning before I start trading, and then back test to build that confidence.
You know what I do every day before I start trading? I say little mantras to myself.
Oh yeah, I also say a mantra.
It's not about money, it's about trading well. I say that to myself every day before the New York session opens. And then I'll pick whichever one is relevant to whatever I thought I could improve on the day before. What are yours?
So I have a few, but the one that's focused on trading is I'm a disciplined and successful trader. And I'd
Yeah.
repeat that 3 times, looking at yourself in the mirror. When you
Mhm.
first start doing it, you feel a little bit funny, but then yeah, it really helps.
No, I'm a big believer in it because it sort of anchors you to your goal each day. Otherwise, I don't know, you don't want to get complacent. It's like driving a car. It doesn't matter how many years you've been driving a car for. You don't want to get into a car with a flat tire whilst you're half asleep and do you know what I mean? And then just
Yeah,
have to be the same amount of alertness every single day to drive a car. And I feel like it's very similar with trading. So it kind of just anchors me to that, not to get complacent, not to think that I've
yeah,
got too far ahead of myself. So yeah, I think mantras is a big one for people. Say them or say little words, writing lines, like say the same thing 10 times, write it down, read it to yourself, believe it. So were there any questions that you wanted to then ask me about my trading journey?
Well, I guess congratulations. We've been talking about my 1 year milestone, but you're 10 years in. So congratulations on that.
Well, sort of. It
How
was
does
10
it
years since I
feel?
first started. But 10
Okay.
years since I first started, not 10 years of success. How does it feel? Do you know what? I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking if I had to start, if I had to start from zero, if I had amnesia, could I do it again? Doesn't that thought absolutely horrify you? The idea of
Yeah.
starting over, yeah. 10 years ago was when I first started reading about trading. So I first started thinking it was something that I wanted to do. Trading Angel's been going since 2019, so not quite as long as 10 years, but everything takes 3 times longer than you think it's going to, doesn't it? So
Yeah. It's never as quick and as fast as you'd like.
yeah, so I don't know if I would have I don't know if I would have started if I'd known how long it was going to take. Do you think you would have?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have believed it. And I
Mm.
would have said, oh, no, I can do it faster than that or sooner than that. But yeah, reality soon sets in.
Well, I think we were all told. I think everyone says at the beginning. I mean, I was definitely told, but there's that thing where it's like, oh no, but I'm smarter than everyone else, so I'll get there quicker. And then you don't. I think the only reason I was able to do it was because I had a job where I had the time to learn.
I guess, yeah, you've been attuned to trading for these 10 years. What are the biggest changes you've sort of seen over that time?
Obviously, I've changed. I know that for a fact. I'm a completely different person to who I was 10 years ago, and I've lived 1,000 lives in the last 10 years. So there was a pandemic, there was all sorts of stuff going on. I don't know if it's me that's changed and what I've been focusing on or what changes have actually happened, but obviously it feels like everything's changed. So, I mean, when I first started, prop firms were obviously a thing, but they didn't seem so accessible. And I didn't really know anyone that had had any success from them. So now, obviously, there's people like yourself or other traders who talk about it a lot. And obviously, the rise in social media, the rise in people sharing their stories. I mean, 10 years ago, even YouTube wasn't as big a thing. I remember someone talking about, oh, there's this girl from Brighton, Zoella, who, everyone loves her and she's making so much on YouTube. And I thought, really? Isn't that just where people put like prank videos? So 10 years ago, that was what I was thinking about YouTube. And now, obviously, this is a place where people just go to watch TV effectively on
Yeah.
demand. Um,
Second to trading videos is prank videos. I do love those on YouTube.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember. That's all it was, wasn't it? It was like on TikTok. When I first started doing TikTok videos, everyone said, "Isn't that just teenagers doing dance routines?" I said, "No, no. I promise you, it's going to be the next big thing."
Well,
And
you're
everyone
right.
laughed at me. They all laughed at me. A lot has changed. But also my focus has changed. So things that I'm looking for has changed. And therefore, I think I'm noticing things differently. I think when I first started as well, I guess perhaps there was more trust in the people that did talk about it because we hadn't gone through this whole phase of the pandemic bringing out all of the scammers.
Yeah,
Um,
they are definitely out there.
oh my goodness. I mean, since the pandemic, the rate of scammers has gone through the roof, but there was a lot more trust before that because we just believed what we saw because there was
Yeah,
know about it all. So it wasn't a thing being a Bitcoin scammer. Bitcoin was barely a thing 10 years ago, wasn't it? So being a Bitcoin scammer wasn't even a thing or an Instagram scammer.
yeah. You spoke about sort of when you're working with some of your students and you have a conversation with them and you can see that they've had a sort of mindset change and you are confident then that they're going to be successful traders.
Mm.
What was your sort of aha moment or moment that significantly changed your trading journey?
Honestly, honestly, I've had about 20. Honestly, like I mean, there are so many different legs to trading. I didn't know this when I first started. I thought, all I need to do is learn about technical analysis. So I learned about technical analysis and I was like, right, I'm ready. That was it, right? And then you realize, oh no, wait, you have to learn about fundamental analysis. And then you need a strategy. And then you need to backtest it. And then you need to learn your psychology. And then you need a good risk to reward ratio. And then you need to do this. So there's just all these different legs to trading. And for each one of those, I had a separate aha moment, which meant that I almost felt like I'd mastered that or got to a point where I was good enough at that I could then move on to another one. So yeah, they all had their separate little aha moments. I've had several aha moments throughout the time. I mean, I think a big one for me, one that really stands out, was incorporating fundamental analysis as well. That was quite big because I was very good at technical analysis, and I would have months where things were going really well. And I think I was the best person in the whole world because I'd done 3 months in profit, making whatever. And then suddenly something would happen, like a news event or something would happen that I didn't know about. And then I would just lose the last 3 months. And obviously, that was a bit of a roller coaster. I was scared to learn fundamental analysis because I thought it was going to be too difficult. Like, I thought my brain wouldn't be able to contain all of that information. But actually, it was a lot more fun and a lot easier than I thought. And then it was life changing. So yeah, that was a big one
Yeah.
for me. But they've all had their things. I mean, even things like what I was telling you earlier about putting my phone away. That was a big aha moment. Not having
Yeah.
my phone out, not letting the broker people convince me that I need to be a gambler.
Yeah, you put me onto fundamental analysis quite early, so that was great and definitely a huge benefit of having you as my coach. We've mentioned this already, just the psychology and having the mindset. So that's been a big part and big growth point of the last year. So I guess you then were a consistently profitable trader. You started to do it full time. What then inspired you to start coaching and building the Trading Angel community?
So when I first started, there wasn't, well, I would say there wasn't anyone like me, but there wasn't, maybe there was, I just didn't find them. But I looked for a coach who I could afford. I didn't have much money when I first started, and I didn't want to spend £5,000. This was pre-inflation as well, mind you. So like £5,000 was worth more then than it was now.
Yeah,
I didn't want to spend that money that I didn't even have on something that I didn't know would work out. If we knew that you'd spend £5,000 and you could guarantee results, sure, I'd take out a loan and do it.
yeah,
There was no guarantee, and there was no references or reviews. It was just me trusting this person that says they're good. So, and then charging a lot of money. So, what I wanted to do, I suppose, I saw a gap in the market for affordable coaching. Yeah, I kind of wanted to be the coach that I wished that I'd had when I first started. And I guess as well, I mean, I didn't really think about this so much at the time, so I didn't really put this all together in my head, but I realize now, actually, my dad was a coach long before it was popular like it is now. Like now everyone's a coach. So the fact that I'm doing it isn't that special, but he was a coach back before it was popular. And he was, when I was a kid, over dinner, we would be having discussions about NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, and he would be taking out his psychology books and he would be helping us with any mindset problems that we had or any issues that we had at school. So I was being coached by my dad from a young age. I didn't really realize the significance of that until recently. I was like, actually, do you know what? A lot of this stuff comes quite naturally to me. It's all something that I suppose I enjoy doing.
the element of coaching I really enjoy is the social interaction,
Mm,
because
yeah.
you're just sat in your behind your trading desk, sort of just you all day. You're not on team calls or Zoom calls with work colleagues or anyone else. Just being able to sort of have that call with someone and discuss something that you enjoy is great. And also something that I've learned along the way is that your students will ask you questions and you might not necessarily know the answer.
Yeah.
So it sort of forces you to go and research that and come back to them, or sometimes they'll show you something and and they teach you as well. And it
That's, I
also
was
just
going to say that, yeah.
reinforces, yeah, it just reinforces your knowledge as well. We're sort of repeating what you've learned,
Mm.
and sharing that with someone helps you to, because yeah, to explain things that you understand can sometimes be difficult. So being able to simplify it, sort
Mm.
of, yeah, it reinforces your knowledge.
Yeah, the one thing that you said, they teach you something. I think I didn't even realize that that was going to be a huge part of it. Because also, what's really nice, I mean, there's a social element, but there's also the fact that I don't know if you found this, but the people in your day-to-day life don't necessarily know anything about trading. So this thing that you're really passionate about, it's your job. No one else knows anything about it. So there's no one to talk to about it. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
so it is nice to have to talk to other people who are at a certain level of intelligence and also ambition. So, all the people who come to me for coaching are really ambitious, they're really intelligent, they're really determined, and they too don't really necessarily have many people that they can talk to about this thing that they're really passionate about.
from all your students, what's been your biggest success story?
I mean, you've been a good success story. You've done well enough that I've invited you on to be a trading angel coach. That's a big success story. I mean, everyone has their own little journey with it, and I see people at all, I don't know, loads of different types of people who have loads of different journeys with trading, and they're all very different. So, for example, there's one woman, I won't obviously name any names, but she's someone that we've both worked with. And she passed the prop firm challenge about 6 months after first starting, which is very impressive. But also, it's unusual. It's not, that I would love to say it was us being the best coaches in the world. But also, when I first met her on the Zoom consultation, it was very clear that she was very intelligent and picked things up very quickly. That's not something that I have. Like, I get an overview the first time round and then I have to watch something about 10 times afterwards to get the detail. But she got things straight away. Like, you said something once and she got it. And I think that that's just, our memories all work differently and how we learn is all very different. So, yeah, I mean, that was a good success story, but I don't know if I would credit that to me. just that perhaps it was a person who I work with who happened to pick things up very, very quickly. But there was also something with you. You had great attention to detail, which is something that I noticed quite early on. And I knew you were going to be a good trader because of that, because of the attention to detail. And from the questions you asked me, I knew you were going to be a good trader. You just needed a little bit of encouragement.
Yeah, there are definitely times when I was just feeling
Yeah,
very
I
sort of
remember.
down about the whole trading journey, and it just wasn't going the way I should, despite sort of doing everything that I thought I should do. And yeah, you just sort of kept me motivated and focused. So thank
Yeah,
you.
you are welcome. Glad it paid off.
10 years into your trading journey, a few years into trading angel, what is your sort of vision for trading angel in the future?
Honestly, it's difficult to actually know what's going to actually be possible because I wonder if there's going to actually be changes to what's allowed. With the rise of people doing this sort of thing, I wonder if there is going to be some kind of regulation coming in. Which obviously, if there was, I would go along with that, and I would make sure that I was regulated. If that was a thing, or if you have to say pass a course or do something in order to teach at a certain level, I would do that. But it's difficult to know if that's something that would be brought in or what any changes are. I don't know. Vision that I kind of had with Trading Angel was that I wanted it to be a place like a hub of um, trading coaches, trading, I guess, my style perhaps, but also maybe different other styles so that anyone was able to get the help that they needed. That was the vision that I had, and you've helped me to add to that, because remember I came to you, well, I was having too many requests for coaching and I'm just one person, so there's only so much I can do, and obviously I want to help everyone that I can, but I am only one person, so that was why I reached out to you. I said, please help me. I know the money's not as good as it is with trading, but really rewarding.
Coaching's great. We've touched on it already, how
Mm,
it benefits us. We also learn, pushes us to be better traders. And yeah, just nice to have conversations with
mm.
people sort of going after the same dream, the same goal.
So thank you so much, Neil, for taking the time to talk to us today and share your journey with everyone. And just so you know, Neil is available for coaching. If you would like to receive one-to-one coaching with Neil, you can email neil@tradingangel.co.uk.